Kenny Porter begins his Connor Kent headline series with a bang, getting right into the story and setting Connor off into the galaxy with one goal: find a place where he can help. Kenny uses the recent change up in the Superman family, with all of them congregating in Metropolis, to build out his story of a Superboy who feels like he's not being able to do anything or is just getting in the way of the other family members. And I like that he doesn't use that as a negative or have Connor, moping around the Kent farm doing the whole quote unquote woe is me shtick, but he uses it as a motivation for Connor to just come out and say, hey, where can I help? Kenny also uses it as a chance to explore Connor's roots as a genetic clone, having him fight what are basically alien versions of himself and confront what he is. It's a fascinating premise, and I look forward to seeing what they do with it. Janoi Lindsay draws up Connor's new adventure with some fantastic set pieces and fun alien designs, giving the action a cool Dragon Ball Z anime lean to it, with exaggerated action beats and fast-paced movement, all very fitting for Connor's very brash and headstrong attitude. Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow issue 1 started off a very strong new adventure for Connor Kent, exploring a lot of the core aspects of the character through a cool new setting and an interesting new supporting cast. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10. Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow issue 1 finds Connor battling Dr. Polaris in downtown Metropolis. Careful not to spill the coffees he has picked up from Mara and Park Kent. The villain tires of Superboy's jokes and rips a building in half, dropping it to the ground so he can make off with the loot he stole from a nearby bank. Superboy rushes to save the building, but John and Kara get there first, telling him not to worry about it. Superman meanwhile has apprehended Dr. Polaris as Connor asks what he can do to help. Supergirl tells him that she's already dealing with the power lines and John is taking care of all the falling billboards and rubble. Superman thanks him for always leaping into action, but the boy knows that he could have done so much more and he had it handled. Clark asks how things are going on the farm since he's been meaning to drop by, but he's been so busy. Connor retrieves his drinks, finding that he spilled his, as he tells Clark it's been all quiet there, having to head back home there now. Clark asks if he wants some help, but the dejected hero takes off for Smallville. Later on, Martha asks Connor how his trip to Metropolis was, thinking that it's good he's getting out and seeing new things. Connor says that he felt the city was a little crowded, and back before all of this, he always felt he knew what he was and what he was supposed to do. But now he just feels like nobody needs him since the others have it all covered, and he's just getting in the way. Ma tells the boy that he just needs to find his place in all of this, and Pa tells him that when Clark left for Metropolis and wanted to use his powers for good, he knew the world was a lot bigger than Smallville, and Connor just needs to find his own Metropolis. Connor gets an idea and heads to the Fortress of Solitude, where he gets Kellex to show him all the current distress signals across the Earth. Connor finds that they are all being handled by Earth's multitude of heroes, so he decides he's not thinking big enough, asking Kellex to show him the galactic distress signals, finding several thousand signals from all over the galaxy. He points out the strongest, finding from the robot that the planet's name isn't in his database, but he can determine from the ships assaulting the planet that they are Dominator in origin. Superboy is eager to help out, asking if there's any starships in storage he can use, but Kellex tells him of the teleportation bracelet that Superman recently confiscated off a Kun bounty hunter. However, it's highly unstable. Connor isn't concerned, grabbing the device as Kellex tells him it uses outdated Zeta Beam tech, meaning it's too dangerous. Connor thinks that it just means no one will miss it, noticing its translator works as well and will come in handy. He tells Kellex to make sure the return coordinates are locked to Earth so he can jump back if he ever gets in trouble, as Kellex warns him that the Dominators are known for their cloning divisions, meaning things are probably going to go south quite quick for Connor. Grabbing his bag, Connor tells his robot friend not to worry since this is his chance to go somewhere and help someone new, asking the robot to think what would Superman do. Superboy teleports to Dragoi, where the lizard people take him for another invader. Dropping his bag, Superboy speeds through the Dominator ships, blowing them up and telling the watching lizard people that he's there to help. The people tell him the Dominators came for their strongest fighters and their children, which they then turn into super soldiers through cloning and gene splicing. Time slows as Superboy senses something, stopping an energy blast from hitting the people. He finds himself confronted by 3 of these Dominator super soldiers, really hoping they have a problem with him defending the innocent people of Dragoi. The Volcano Man attacks and Superboy hits him away, telling the people to get out of the city and not to leave anyone behind. A Dominator appears, glad to be graced by one of Earth's heroes, and Connor should feel honored, since many of his creations are inspired by Earth's heroes. He implores Connor to leave with his life, and Connor agrees that he will go, right after after he defeats the villains, that is. Superboy attacks but is grabbed by the Volcano Man. Connor begins feeling his heat, which is not a good sign since whatever these soldiers are powered with, it can hurt him. Connor hits the Volcano Man with his tactile telekinesis as the insect woman attacks one of the lizard people, who call for Superboy's help, so Connor speeds into the path of her electric blast, thinking all of the people had gotten away. The insect woman grabs him, revealing that they did, and the people that he was just protecting were just telepathic illusions to lure Connor to her. The villain knows that Connor is strong in body, but is he strong in mind, as she begins probing his mind, making him remember being created by Lex, the Young Justice, and fighting Superboy Prime, among others. The Dominator scans Superboy, finding him to be part Kryptonian, wanting to apply that to his creations. He tells his soldiers that they will need to properly vivisect the hero, so the soldiers smash him around the battlefield. Connor refuses to give up, asking if that's all they got. The Dominator thinks that he's tougher than he looks, eager to kill and take apart Superboy since they are going to make a fortune off of him. Superboy stops him, asking if he can hear that sound of everyone leaving the city, which means Superboy doesn't need to hold back any longer. Connor unleashes a TK blast, quickly taking down all of the soldiers and the Dominator. The alien warlord thinks that the Earth's reputation for butting in where they aren't wanted precedes him, but usually the heroes work in groups, and Connor is all alone. The Dominator activates the rest of his soldiers, which pile out of their ship and onto Connor and overwhelm him. Suddenly several are killed by laser beams and purple blurs. The Dominator knew that they would arrive sooner or later, telling Connor they'll continue their talk later as he escapes. The purple blur knocks Connor over as the Cosmeteers surround Superboy, taking him for another of the Dominator's experiments, and because of that, he's on their kill list.